All right, we're back on the Press Box Podcast, and today is episode number 80. In this episode, we'll talk a little bit about tennis. French Open's happening right now. Talk a little bit about the Naomi Osaka situation, her withdrawal from the tournament, and kind of the role between players and media in tennis and sports in general. And then we'll move on to football. We've got off-season activities kicking off. Talk a little bit about the Super Bowl champions, the Buccaneers, and how they're handling things in their off-season activities. And we'll end up with some baseball, talk a little bit about the two premier teams, Yankees and Dodgers, and then talk a little bit about the game in general, kind of our thoughts on different positions in baseball and stuff like that. It's kind of a well-rounded episode today. Hope you enjoy it. Before we get started, as always, follow us on Twitter at PressBoxPod. And we mentioned this last episode as well, but YouTube now. Search PressBox Podcast. We have a YouTube channel. Have some clips up there as well if you want to see some of our highlights and things like that. We have a lot of good things coming there, so be on the lookout for that. And without further ado, episode number 80 of the Press Box Podcast starts now.
Okay, welcome back to the Press Box Podcast. This is episode 80, if you're counting at home, episode 80 of the Press Box Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ralph Miranda. I'm joined by my other co-host, Joseph Miranda today, and our producer, Nathan Miranda. So we have the triumvirate back together again. And today we just kind of want to do a hodgepodge of topics today. There's lots going on in the sports world. Of course, we got NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. Baseball is kind of hitting its stride. We're into about 50 to 60 games, somewhere in there. NFL teams are having off-season activities. So a lot going on right now in the sports world, but we want to hit on a couple of topics. And one of the topics that has been out there recently, which you may or may not be familiar with, Naomi Osaka, who is a tennis player, is playing in the French Open right now in Roland Garros in France. And she has withdrawn from the French Open after her first round victory, citing depression problems. And part of the reason was that, as all athletes are, she's required to give a press conference after her match. She did not attend the press conference that she was required to attend after her first match. And the Tennis Association, or whoever monitors that, said that she would be subject to fines and possible disqualification if she did not attend the second one. She decided to withdraw, citing depression problems, saying that she's been dealing with it since she won the United States Open tennis match or championship back in 2018. So, Joseph, I want to talk about that, not so much from the tennis standpoint. I mean, you've been involved in the sports world, as Nathan has as well. And I just kind of want to get your idea on that. I mean, requiring athletes to do pressers, is it good? Is it bad? I know the reason for it, but I mean, sometimes does the press go too far? Should they be kind of limited on the type of questions they ask? I mean, what's your general gut feeling on that?
Well, I mean, that's their job, right? They have a job to do. You know, I mean, like, they're required to cover the tournament. So I guess, right. I don't know if it's like print media or whatever, but I'm sure some of them have to write stories, some of them have to do whatever it is they have to do. So I guess they need that access. So, you know, I get why they need the access.
Right.
They have a job, just like the tennis players. And I mean, if you're a player, you don't have to answer anything you don't want to answer. I mean,
correct.
Sit up there and just be like, you know, whatever, you give the usual next question, or I don't want to answer that or whatever. But yeah, I don't know enough about tennis specifically. I guess they have to do it after every match.
Right.
Media.
Right.
And I mean, she knew that. You know, I mean, like,
right.
She played enough tennis to know that, so it wasn't a surprise to her. So yeah, I don't know really what to make of that. Like, if I was her, I would just. Well, you said I was taking the fine, which I guess she did, but
right.
And just keep taking fines. But I guess you said they could have kicked her out of the tournament.
Yeah, they were talking disqualification. Then I also heard where some governing tennis body said that if even in future events, if she continues this, she could be subject to disqualification from those events as well. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. I mean, I think, and don't get me wrong, I mean, if she's dealing with depression, that's a whole different issue, and she needs to get help. I mean, she needs to forget about tennis a while and get help. So that's a whole separate issue. But you knew going into this tournament that you were going to have to deal with the press. And if you didn't want to because of your depression issues, then maybe she should not have entered the tournament to start with.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if it was just like being in the room with people. I guess they could do like a Zoom thing or something like that.
Well, she made a statement on Twitter, and she mentioned she cited as social anxiety as well.
Right.
So I don't know if Zoom might help that, but I'm not sure how that works. She says she's not a natural, quote, "I am not a natural public speaker and get huge waves of anxiety before I speak to the world's media. I get really nervous and find it stressful to always try to engage and give you the best answers I can. So here in Paris, I was feeling vulnerable and anxious, so I thought it was better to exercise self-care and skip the press conferences," end quote.
Yeah, well, then maybe just don't give good answer. Like, just get up there and just be like, just give one word answer. Plenty of people do that. I mean, I don't know.
Sure they do.
Well, Marshawn Lynch was famous for that. Like, he had to do the press stuff, so
right.
He would just sit up there and not really.
Yeah. But I think, like you mentioned to me yesterday when we were talking about it, I think Marshawn Lynch's issue was different. I don't think he had social anxiety. I think he just didn't want to do it.
Well, maybe, but Ricky Williams used to have something like this. He used to wear his helmet and shield.
That's right. I remember that. That's right.
I think they should change it to where maybe you don't. Maybe I'm still okay with being fined for not doing press because that's part of your job. Like, everybody has parts of the job they don't like. That's part of your job. The media has a job. If you don't want to do it, fine. You can fine them even a significant amount, but you shouldn't disqualify them from the tournament. I don't think.
I agree with that. If you want to fine them, even though I understand in her case, it's not that she just didn't want to do it. She's she's uncomfortable doing it, which I can see her point, but I see Joseph's point in that, it is part of her job, and the media has a job to do. You have to be available to them.
Right.
So I think I agree with Joseph. Fine her, but never threaten disqualification.
Right.
They say, well, we can't, because if they tell everybody, well, it's optional, then they're going to have people who don't feel like she does. They just don't want to do it. They're like, I'm not going to do it. And then you're not going to have anybody do it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I think that's what they tell her and say, listen, sorry, but this is what could end up happening if we make it optional. So we're just going to have to fine you every time you do it, every time you skip it, but you can still play.
Right. I agree with that. Okay, so that kind of, I think we've probably said all we can say about that one. Next topic I want to talk about, which was kind of interesting to me, but as I said, the NFL teams are kind of doing their off-season OTAs, as they call them. And I know there's been some impetus by the Players Association saying, hey, we don't want to attend these. We're still not that comfortable, blah, 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 blah. But a lot of teams are doing them. And one of the teams that is doing them is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, everybody knows the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl last year. I think they were the first team, the first defending Super Bowl champion to bring back all 22 starters. I mean, they signed everybody they needed to sign, and they're a complete same team as they were last year. Okay. So yesterday or a couple days ago, apparently some of the guys on the Buccaneers are not with the team doing off-season activities. They're working out with Tom Brady privately. And Bruce Arians came out yesterday or the day before and said, hey, some of these guys need to get their bleep back in camp. He goes, jobs are on the line. They're not safe. Well, I'm thinking to myself, okay, they're working out with Tom Brady. I mean, and Tom Brady is the reason you guys won the Super Bowl last year. Now, if I'm Bruce Arians and I just won a Super Bowl and all 22 starters back, I'm hitting the cruise control button and I'm not saying a word. I'm keeping my mouth shut, right? So I want to get everybody's opinion. I think he's kind of opened up a can of worms. I mean, because these guys who were working out with, and another comment, he said, hey, Brady's not in town right now. He's left town for whatever. You guys need to come back here. So basically you're saying, hey, when Brady's not here, you need to be here. But if Brady's here, it's okay to work out with him. And Brady is held to a different standard. Now, don't get me wrong. Brady can do whatever he wants. He's Brady. But still, don't you think that sends the wrong message to the team?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I agree with your statement that if I'm Arians, like you have to know, like, yeah, you're the head coach, but it was the players and Brady that won the Super Bowl, so you should just like chill, like you said, right?
Right,
so,
right. Put it on cruise control.
That's the first thing. Second thing, it depends. It's sending the wrong message if the players. It depends on how the players feel. I don't know. Like, do they realize that Brady can do whatever he wants? They probably do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they can't be upset for him not being there and them being asked to be there. I don't know. It depends on how they feel. It's nice to treat everybody equal on the team, but not everybody's equal, right? So I mean,
I agree.
I'm kind of mixed on that one. I can't really say.
Well, he said that some of these guys need to get back in the camp. Well, maybe he was talking about Brady too. Right?
Well,
maybe he was treating them all equal.
He could have been, but he made the comment, hey, Brady's not in town right now, so you guys need to get back here.
Oh, but I think you said they were with him out of town training.
No. They were training with him at somewhere off site. I don't know that they were out of town.
Oh, so they were training with him off site, and then right now Brady's out of town for some reason.
That's my understanding.
And they're still training on this off site thing, but Brady's not there.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think this is going to happen, but let me pose this question to you. I mean, if you're Tom Brady, don't you think you should be there? And what I mean by that is you came in last year, you changed the culture of the team, you got everybody to buy into what you were trying to do, and now you're kind of just setting yourself up as the prima donna. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure everybody on that team probably respects him as the prima donna, but I just think that's kind of the wrong tack for Brady to take.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, see, and I didn't see the whole story. He's not there right now.
He's not there. No.
Okay.
These are OTAs.
OTAs.
Optional? Like
No,
I
don't think they're optional.
Okay.
Otherwise, Arians would be way off base. Saying
Well,
this.
you know what optional means.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of in the camp that he can do whatever he wants, but this is me.
What about you, Nate? I mean,
I think that's two different. We're talking about two different things. Can he do whatever he wants? Yeah, he's Tom Brady.
Should he?
Should he be there? I think he probably should.
Yeah. I think that's kind of where I fall on it. I think, yeah, he can do whatever he wants, but I think it would really be good for the team if he was there.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it seems like, of course, I don't really know because I'm not there. Obviously, it seems like he's like well liked by the players. Like he's not like they don't see him as just some outsider that like prima donna type guy. I don't know. It seems that way anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that.
No, I agree. I'm not saying it's hurting his reputation. I just think it's
not the proper thing.
Yeah, I just think being the quarterback and being the guy on the team and the reason they won the Super Bowl and everything, I think it would just help. I don't know. I just think it would mean a little something if he were there every time. You know what I mean? Like
I agree
with everybody. Like because I'm sure because not everybody's training with him. Some players are there in camp, so
right.
I think it would just. And I don't think they care that he's not there. Probably
right.
They probably don't care. It's not hurting his reputation, probably, but some people maybe. But I doubt it. I just think it just might lift everyone's spirits a little more. You know what I mean? Or it might make like, hey, or it might make them say like maybe they don't care if he's not there, but when he does come, they're like, hey, he doesn't really have to be here. He's Tom Brady, but he is.
Right.
So that might even boost him in their mind. You know what I mean? But again, though, does he have to be there? No, like Arians should never call him out for not being there,
right?
Because I think he's. I mean, maybe this is not the right way to think, but I think at this point he's earned the right to do stuff like that.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And let's look at it from another perspective.
Because it's OTAs too. Let's remember, this is not camp. He's not like in training camp. Right?
No, I understand that. And is it possible? Let's look at another tack. Maybe Arians is feeling a little envy. I mean, like the world. Well, the world. The year before Brady got there, they were 7-9, right? I mean, so most people feel like Arians had nothing to do with this, right? I mean, it was Brady that came in and elevated everybody up to the level of. So now maybe he's thinking, hey, I mean, I'm the head coach. I mean, I need to start like maybe showing that I'm the head coach.
Well,
I mean,
oh yeah, I think he's trying to show he has authority.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
And all head coaches are going to say stuff like that. Probably we're like, oh, no jobs on the safe. He didn't say this, but he would be willing to probably say like even Tom Brady's no job is safe. I mean. That's just what coaches say sometimes. I feel like he's trying to. I think he is trying to state his authority too, not just because he's the head coach and all coaches probably want to make sure they have authority, but especially his situation, given that Tom Brady's kind of running the show.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Bruce Arians knows it was Tom Brady.
Oh, I would hope so.
Yeah.
What do you think, Joseph? You agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's. I mean, I probably felt like he had to say that or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think if he sat down privately with Brady and these other guys, he'd probably tell them, "Listen, I don't really care, but I need to have some statement publicly, and I can't look like I'm soft." So.
Right. All right, let's switch gears again. Let's talk a little bit about let's talk a little baseball right now. We are probably maybe 55, 56 games into the season. Everybody's played either one or two, more or less, based on rainouts or whatever. Most pundits pick the Yankees and the Dodgers to get to the World Series. The Dodgers started out on fire. They have cooled off quite a bit. They're starting to get their sea legs under them a little bit. I think they're 33-23 the last time I checked. In third place behind the Giants and the Padres right now in the Western Division, only 2.5 games back. The Yankees started out poorly, came out of the gate 6-11, went on a 22-6 run for a while, and now they've gone back down the hill. And even when they won 4 games in a row a few weeks ago with some stellar pitching, including Corey Kluber's no-hitter, I think they scored a total of like 3 or 4 runs in those 4 games. So the Yankees can't hit. That's their problem right now. They lost Kluber. Their pitching is poor. The only thing they've got is Garrett Cole. So let's talk about the state of those two teams, Joseph. I mean, is this just a midseason, I don't want to call it slump, but just a midseason, downward trend, and they're going to pick it back up again? Or is this a portent of bigger problems?
Yeah, I think that for the Yankees, it could be portent, as you said, of bigger problems because of the injuries you talked about. I mean,
right.
You've got Kluber out. You got
Luke Voigt's out.
It's Sand and Judge are in that lineup really. Like I don't think you can really count on them to play 162 games.
No.
On the other hand, the Dodgers are not dealing with as many injuries.
Right.
And both are competitive divisions too. You got San Francisco and San Diego right there with them within 2 games, and then you got Tampa Bay and Boston right there with the Yankees within 2 games. So we've got competition in the division.
Right.
I think that ultimately, I think Tampa Bay and Boston, Tampa Bay specifically, if they were just in the World Series, pose a little bit more of a threat to the Yankees than the Giants and Padres do.
I agree.
I'm not convinced that the Padres have a lot of staying power, really.
Right.
I think the Dodgers, there should be less concern. I think they do end up kind of pulling away. Maybe they don't win the division by like a huge amount, but I think they end up winning the division. Whereas the Yankees, I'm not so sure that they will,
Yeah, no, that's pretty good analysis. I kind of agree with it. From a Yankee perspective, though, I mean, obviously, I think if the elder George Steinbrenner was still alive,
right.
I think Aaron Boone would have been fired probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He would have never been hired in the first place.
Well, that's true. He would have never been hired in the first place. But I think, of course, this is not going to happen because you got different Steinbrenners running the team now, and they're more interested in profit than they are in winning. But somebody's head's got to be on the chopping block when you talk about the Yankees, right? I mean, Cashman built this team, and it's falling apart before we even reached 60 games. I mean, you got Luke Voigt's been hurt; he's played like 3 or 4 games. Aaron Hicks, I think they should get rid of him anyway. I'm not a big fan of Aaron Hicks, but now he's out possibly the rest of the season. He hasn't played many games. You signed Kluber. For a while there, it looked like a great move, and now he's got the shoulder problems again. He's out. Stanton, he had a little bit of a hot streak there for a couple weeks, gets hurt, goes on the DL. Here he is not being able to hit again. Judge, his average is pretty good, but we've talked about his problems. I mean, this is a Yankee team. I don't see how you can even look at this team and say that they even have a shot at winning the division.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to look at that team and say, hey, something's got to change. And I don't know what it would be, but something's got to change. I think they need a new manager for one. I mean, I'm sorry, Aaron Boone. I guess I'm old school, and I guess you could say, hey, things have changed. But, something bothers me about a manager that every time he gets in front of the microphone, yeah, I know we're struggling, but I saw some good at bats tonight, and we're going to work through this. BS. Call it what it is. Say, hey, we're not hitting, and something's got to change quick. You got to jolt these guys out of their complacency level, I think.
Yeah. To answer your question, who's in the chopping block? I mean, yeah, look, maybe it's Cashman. I don't know. I mean, obviously they like Cashman because they let him basically hire Aaron Boone and do all that stuff. So I don't think you said it best. I don't think things are really going to change because the current ownership group isn't really worried about winning at all costs like the previous ownership.
Right.
So,
and Nathan had a good point. It was kind of a funny point. I talked about how the Yankees can't hit, but they're also making a lot of errors. And Nathan said, what does it matter? All you need to do is hit, right?
Well, this all came up because you're watching the highlights of the Tigers game where they got swept for the first time in Detroit since 2000 or something, which that's like the little big league, he's over 14 at home in a dome.
That's
Come on, who cares? But the shortstop made a couple errors or something. I saw one error. It didn't look pretty bad. I feel bad for the guy. He got a hit after that though. But
that's good.
My point was, yeah, I mean, he's no Jeter at shortstop. Not many people are, but my point, he got the hit after that. So my point, as long as he's hitting, do they care? I mean, but then Joseph was saying that that's a premium position, which I don't know. So
yeah, I mean, you don't want to make too many errors. I mean, you can't have just like give outs away.
Right. That was my point. I mean, you're giving them free outs.
To answer your question, yeah, hitting is ultimately more important. Like you can hit, find a place for you, but it won't be a shortstop. I mean, you got to shortstop and second specifically. You got to be able to not make errors.
Right.
I can understand that. I guess the best way for me to kind of give you my what I'm trying to address, what I'm trying to say is, let's say you have a baseball team, you have two shortstops, so you have to play one of them. Right. One guy is great in the field. It's the best fielding shortstop you can think of. Never makes an error. Strong arm, can go whatever the term is, side to side. I don't know. Right. But he can't hit with a leg.
Right.
All right. And then you got a guy who, I'm not saying he can't field anything and makes errors every play, but he's going to make some errors. He's going to make maybe, I don't know what is considered a lot of errors. I don't know if one a game is unheard of or if that's considered.
That's too many.
That's terrible.
Okay. Oh, that's terrible. Okay. So maybe it's not terrible. Let's say he makes some errors every now and then. All right. He's a subpar fielder, but he's an above average hitter. Which guy do you play every day?
You play the shortstop that can field, and then you teach the hitter how to play right field or left field or something.
Right. Yeah.
They're DHing. That's what they do. If they really want his bat in the lineup.
I mean, I think you got to have, Joseph can tell me if he agrees with this or not, but I think shortstop, second base, and catcher are the three positions where you want good, solid defense, and you're willing to take 250 or 260 at the plate. All right. Yeah. Whereas your center fielder not only has to be a good defensive guy, but I think you need close to 300 average production from your center fielder. The other positions, I think you don't worry about because, as Joseph said, your left fielder and right fielder don't have as much opportunity for errors, and your third baseman and first baseman really don't either. I mean, your first baseman just has to be able to catch and stretch, and so, I mean, would you agree with that assessment, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about it's hard to hit 300.
Well, I know.
Play center field, but yeah, I mean, the corners are less premium positions. I'm not saying anybody can play there, but if they need to move a guy somewhere, that's where they're going to try to move him. Specifically first in the outfield. Third base is a little
A little tougher.
A little tougher if you to play, but yeah, I mean, you're right about second base, shortstop, and center field and catcher. Those are all premium positions.
Yeah.
Catcher, you can hit 215, 220.
Right. Yeah.
I can see the catcher thing. But back to my initial question, you said they'll take the guy at the shortstop you can't field, and they'll teach him to play left field or right field. They keep his batting lineup. I was saying these guys, one's in the lineup, one's out of the lineup. You can't move them around. So you're saying you would take the subpar hitter and let him play shortstop because that's the premium position,
right? And then
the other guy's just not your lineup. Then
no. Oh,
you can't teach him to play. No, he's
else?
not your lineup. That's what I'm saying.
That's not a real scenario. So
okay, all right.
It's really not a real scenario.
right.
I mean, I think
that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I think.
Let me ask. Good.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. Let me ask you this: What makes it? Why do you expect a higher average out of your premium position in center field than you do out of your second catcher and shortstop?
I mean, I don't know that you expect a higher average. It's just that, like, outfielders in the corners, expect them to hit more just in general. Like,
oh, okay.
The corners specifically expect more power, but yeah, I mean, especially like you'll take a little less defense for more offensive production. So
right
in the outfield,
and I think there's less opportunity for your center fielder to make an error than there is for your shortstop and second baseman because it's not that hard to catch a ball. Now, a fly ball. You may make an error overrunning a ball or taking the wrong angle, but I think you want a center fielder that's pretty strong defensively from the standpoint of, because he's the captain of the outfield, right? And whenever there's a fly ball in the alleys or the gaps, he's the guy that has to make the decision. Either he's going to get it or he's going to let his left or right fielder get it. So you got to have a really good center fielder from that perspective. But I think you also want him to be able to hit because it is a premium position. And most center fielders, I shouldn't say most, I mean, a lot of center fielders are pretty good hitters.
Okay, I see. So
yeah.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Whereas your right fielder, you'll
take a little less offense from your center fielder just because.
Yeah.
Okay, but you'll take even less offense from short and second to catcher because it's even more of a premium fielding position.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so because they're going to see more ground balls and double play opportunities, and you know what I mean.
So that's why you kind of want your center fielder to be able to hit a little better than your short and second.
Yeah, I would say so. And you're right. Doesn't matter who plays right field.
Catcher will take the least amount of offense.
Right.
Yeah. This is maybe a topic for another episode, but what do you think about like when a catcher catches a perfect game or something? It's like, did he do anything? You know what I mean? Like, doesn't he kind of go into the Hall of Fame, so to speak? I mean, he's not the Hall of Fame, but like he's kind of recorded as it's the pitcher and the catcher who had the perfect game. Isn't that kind of how they record it?
Yeah.
But like, what do you do?
Well, you know I think that all depends on who calls the pitches, right? I mean, I think back in the 50s and 60s, the catcher called the pitches a lot of times. So he did have a big effect on the game, and I think today you're right. I think it's less of effect because most of the time your catcher's not calling the pitches, right? So all he's got to do is catch the ball. I mean, and maybe he goes out, and I don't even think they can do that anymore because they limit the amount of times you go out to the mound. But maybe previously he could go out there and calm him down if a situation was going bad or he sensed something was going bad. I think the catcher was more important, what I'm saying, 30, 40 years ago than he is today.
Yeah, I'm thinking like
in that perspective, a perfect game or a no-hitter.
I'm thinking like, I mean, go take your local high school catcher. I mean, who was like an average catcher and not like somebody pretty good high school catcher. I mean, and you give him like Joseph Verlander and he's on one night, he'll probably pitch a perfect game, Joseph Verlander. Like I was about to say like I could do it, but I'm not going to go that far because I would need. I understand. I don't think I could. It'd be hard to catch like 100-mile-per-hour fastball or a curveball. But I would say take someone who is a catcher, and like even if it's a high school catcher, I think that can happen. So in other words, you can have a high school catcher in an MLB game with like a Joseph Verlander who's on that night, and then you can have the MVP of the league catching on the other team with a pitcher who just doesn't have his stuff that night. It doesn't matter how good the catcher is on the other side. The high school catcher is going to go down as the perfect game because he's got Verlander and no one can hit him.
Yeah.
First of all, catchers do call a lot of pitches. Now the pitcher obviously decides what he's going to throw. You can shake it off or whatever.
Right.
He has the ball, but I mean there is you they collaborate with the pitchers on how to attack hitters and all that
Right.
stuff.
Right. And then also the dugout. I mean, they're probably talking to him in the dugout.
Yeah.
Of course, I guess once a no-hitter or a perfect game gets to the 5th or 6th inning, nobody's talking to the pitcher.
I guess, but I guess my point is how much. I'll drop it for this. I know it's not a personal point of the episode, but okay. Let's say he coordinates with how he's going to attack a hitter with the pitcher.
Right.
Let's say he talks to him some early on in the dugout.
Right.
Are those two things? How much weight do those two things carry when you're talking about what led to a perfect game? Like not much.
No, because what led to a perfect game is the pitcher's ability.
The pitcher has to throw the pitch.
Right.
He's
got to throw the pitches and locate them.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. Right. Especially a perfect game because you can't afford to walk anybody. So now you've really got to be on.
And I guess in the rare case where there's some play like bunt around the catcher, some of it's on him then because he has to be able to get the guy out, or what I mean. Like if you lay down a bunt or something,
Right.
I guess that comes into it too, and the catcher in the field, in other words, or if the guy pops it up behind the plate,
right?
The catcher makes a tremendous play to get him out. That could help lead to perfect game because it gets the guy out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's
part of it.
Probably true. Yeah, I guess it's probably true. But anyway,
did you have any thoughts? I know Joseph and I. For those of you who want to hear more of my opinion on what we're about to say, you can listen to
episode 79.
Episode 79 with me and Joseph. But did you have some comments on the Kevin Pillar getting hit in the face? I know you think that it's not. You think it was. I think Joseph and I are kind of on the same page that it shouldn't really happen like it happened with him, as far as getting hit square in the nose. It should happen more like how it happened with Bryce Harper. He flinched enough where it didn't hit him square in the nose. He didn't have as much damage in blood. So, but you think it's just like,
well,
I think you tend to agree with the announcer who said that he had 0% chance to get out of the way.
No, I don't know that I agree with 0% chance. I think the last comment I made on it was that yes, you should be able to get out of the way. Your reaction should be quick enough where you could either duck, drop, do something. But here's my point. Let's say that the batter is looking for a curveball or looking for a slider low and away, okay? And here comes a fastball high and tight. There is a possibility that there could have been enough of a freeze or split-second freeze where he could not have gotten out of the way, all right? Whereas if you're looking for a fastball, then I think your ability to get out of the way is a lot better. That's my only point, is that we don't have to go through all the statistics that the ball is going to get to the plate in so many milliseconds, and you only have so many milliseconds to react. So it's a very real possibility that if you're looking low and away on a slider, and here comes a fastball high and tight, if you freeze even a split second, it's possible that you couldn't get out of the way.
Let me preface too. I think people understand, if they listen to the last episode, they know. But when I say get out of the way too, I don't mean he's not going to get hit. He's going to get hit by the pitch.
Right.
I meant get out of the way as far as
his face.
Guard your face a little better.
Yeah, I understand that.
I'm not saying he could have ducked or something. I'm not saying that.
No, I know that, but I'm
Even
still.
No,
go ahead, Joe.
Even if you're looking for a curveball or something, how do you know not to swing what's not a curveball? You recognize fastball out of his hand.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to swing. I'm looking for a curveball. Well, he recognized fastball. All he has to do is turn his head just a little bit.
Right.
Like, I've never seen that before. I'm totally in Nathan's camp.
Right. You're right. You have enough time. If you're expecting a curveball, you have enough time to decide you're not going to swing at the fastball.
Yeah. Or
if it's off the plate or not. But you have enough time to flinch.
Maybe they had a bet in the dugout. Maybe they've got a bet that says, the next time somebody gets hit, who's got enough guts to take one in the face? Maybe he wanted to show people, hey, I could take one in the face.
Maybe the guy has anybody heard of Joseph? Probably has anybody heard of Kevin Pillar before this? I haven't.
Yeah, Joseph has.
Have you though?
I heard of him.
You've heard of him? Come on.
No, he used to play for the Blue Jays. I've heard of him.
All right, I haven't. So my point is, maybe he figured, listen, I need to get my name out there. I can either hit like 50 home runs in the season. That's probably not going to happen. Or I can get hit. Or I can get hit square in the face by a fastball.
That could be. It's very possible. It's very possible. All right. Well, I think that pretty much does it for episode 80 of the Press Box Podcast.
Did you talk about Tony La Russa?
No, we'll talk about Tony La Russa on the next episode. We got a lot of topics we can talk about on the next episode. So a good week in sports. Lots of things going on. We appreciate Joseph joining us, and glad we had everybody back together again. So remember, at Pressbox Pod is our Twitter account. We put up a poll, I think it was a few weeks ago, who is the only golfer of the four not to win the career Grand Slam. The answer was Arnold Palmer, for those of you who may not have known the correct answer. But we'll do more of that. Make sure you hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what you're thinking about the episodes. Nathan's, our producer, has been putting up video clips on YouTube, the Pressbox Podcast YouTube channel. Beautiful, wonderful video clips and audio clips of certain parts of different episodes, the highlights of them. I think that's been a really great addition to our program. So hit that up as well. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Pressbox Podcast.